take you back to the year 1964. Imagine a cold, sterile lab. Rows of cages lined up under bright, fluorescent lights. Inside them, two groups of rats lived vastly different lives. One group had toys, mazes, challenges, but the other, a bare, empty cage with nothing to explore. Weeks passed. Then came the moment of truth. Can you guess what happened? Dr. Marianne Diamond, a pioneering scientist who conducted this groundbreaking research, found that the brains of the stimulated rats physically grew. This was the first hard evidence of neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to recognize itself and rewire based on what's relevant in our lives. So think about this. If our brains can grow and change based on what we expose them to, then what does that mean for us? Are we putting ourselves in a cage of routine, or are we pushing into new enriching experiences that reshape the way we think? This is where travel comes into play and becomes much more than just a vacation. When you visit a historic castle, your hippocampus is stimulated as you take in new information and piece together its story. When you're hiking to a national park, your motor cortex and frontal lobe work together to keep your balance on uneven terrain. Learning to navigate a foreign city, that's your parietal lobe in action. Struggling to order food in another language, that's your Wernicke's and Broca's area firing up. Even just the scent of a freshly baked bread in a Parisian cafe triggers your olfactory cortex, creating scent-based memories you'll have of that place forever. I once went on a road trip across the US with family friends. But once I had met just a week before for the first time in my life. Imagine spending days on the road with people who are basically strangers. Every day was a detour from comfort. Every stop was a step into the unknown. It wasn't just the kilometers that challenged me. It was the silence after songs, the awkward small talk, the moments where I had to figure out who I was in a completely new environment. My frontal lobe was like a GPS, calculating routes constantly. I learned how to navigate, not just the highways, but how to connect, how to listen, and most importantly, how to find comfort in the unknown. That's when I started thinking, what if our minds were like maps? Every time you step into the unknown, whether it's learning a new language, meeting new people, or visiting a completely different country, you're charting a new territory of your brain. Right now, all of us sitting here have a marked zone. The places we feel comfortable in, the routines we follow, the paths we've already traveled. But beyond that, that's where growth happens. When I went to Boston for a 2-day event in Harvard, I entered a whole new world. I met some of the brightest minds from across the globe. People who thought differently, challenged my ideas, and pushed me beyond my limits. It was intimidating at first, of course, but by the end of the 2-day conference, I found myself thinking in ways I never had before. My mind had expanded, not just because of what I learned, but because of who I met and how I adapted. This is what I call the horizon effect. Think about a horizon. It seems distant, right? No matter how close you get to it, it keeps stretching further. But that's the beauty of it. The more we push past the limits, the more our abilities expand. Whether it's emotional resilience, problem solving, creativity, our potential is not a fixed point. But stepping into the unknown, it's not always easy. I still remember standing at the top of a slope in Switzerland, the wind biting at my face. Every single cell in my body screamed at me to step back, to stay in my marked zone where it felt safe. But instead, with my heart pounding, I took a breath, leaned forward, and let go. And in that terrifying, exhilarating moment, I learned to simply trust myself. And I believe that I share these stories not just because they were fun or exciting, but because they fundamentally changed the way I perceive myself, made me realize I was capable of much more. And I believe that's true for all of us. Just like those rats in Dr. Diamond's experiment, our brains have the super ability to change. We hold the power to redraw our borders. So the next time you hesitate, the next time you feel fear holding you back, just take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's beyond my horizon? Thank you.